and responsible way. My name is Uduak Daniel, and yes, you're joining the conversation outside the shores of Nigeria, watching via the YouTube channel as well as the Facebook page wall, as well as the Twitter handle that we have all at Eagles FM Abuja. You are doing the right thing, and yes, do well to give us a follow, give us a tweet, give us a retweet, give us a subscribe, give us a like. Yes, do that. Spread across the entire social media platforms, talking about the major ones, Instagram and TikTok, inclusive, right? Yeah, today, there's been quite a number of talk, been quite a number of talk about issues that concern Nigeria, and it seems as though the issues that border around the Nigerian labor and the federal government is not going away anytime soon. The organized labor meeting with government had reached a deadlock for some reasons, and disagreement on minimum wage is one of such reasons, where the federal government and organized labor could not agree on a new minimum wage. Matters that concern the organized labor pushing for 615,000 naira, while the government and private sector are proposing between 60,000 naira and 70,000 naira. There is also the place where the federal government is yet to fulfill its part of the agreement with the labor movement, including the implementation of a new minimum wage, the places of unaddressed hardship where the removal of fuel subsidy has caused mass suffering, and hardship across the country, which the government has yet to address. But then the organized labor has also made a fresh 18 points demand. The government should restrain itself from the use of violence and civic engagement within the industrial relations sphere is one of such demands, and an immediate reversal of the unilateral hike in electricity tariff, enthronement of service reflective tariff, and stoppage of segregation of consumers. Yes, which quite a number of persons are saying is would be seen based on this new tariff system that's going on with the power sector in Nigeria. And quite a number too have also said that the NLC is also allowing for such to happen within their ranks, especially in their meeting with the government, where they are only seemingly talking about the Nigerian labor, but what about the other unlabored, in quotes, and that there might also be some sort of segregation in that regard. The NLC is also saying that there should be an expansion of NLAC's activities and increasing its periodicity, and the establishment of constant tripartite workplace audits at the federal, state, and enterprise levels, an immediate rollout of the CNG buses nationwide as agreed as of October 2nd of last year, agreement signed with the government, and full implementation of registrar of trade unions for registering more unions. We demand that we need that new unions be registered in the informal sector. That's what they got to say there in that regard. And they are calling for urgent rethink of the presidential system of government as practiced in our dear country, Nigeria. And they are calling for a review of the electricity privatization exercise with the view to a reversal. Once again, they are demanding a two-state solution to the crisis in the Middle East, the hypocrisy around the international issues, imperials, our world, and stuff like that, and matters that concern the PTAD. PTAD has been doing quite a job. Do not scrap it, but leave it for pensioners. And they are saying we call for the payment of the 25,000 naira palliative promised to pensioners since last year. According to them, they are calling for a national minimum pension to be negotiated along the national minimum wage. That Nigerian workers call for a one-year moratorium on all forms of taxes, levies, and dues collectible from the informal economy by state and local governments. The organized labor is also talking about an immediate inclusion of workers in the committee set up to implement the Orosaye report to ensure that workers' interests, are protected through the president's actions and appointments since the assumption of office has already been exacerbated the challenges the reports sought to resolve. And they also bring in for a demand to the implementation of the Science, Technology, Technology and Innovation Policy, that's the NSTIP, and its provisions for the National Research and Innovation Council, NRIC, which should improve funding for research. They've also come out to calling out on the National Assembly to expedite the passage of the NRIC bill and on Mr. President to give assent thereafter. They are also looking at the resurrection of, the place of fuel queues. Well, it's part of the fresh demands. I remember that Moses earlier on during the pages, which happens to be the newspaper review segment of on the show, had said that the NLC has not come out to talk about the fuel issue. Well, it's part of their 18 demand, where they've brought about fresh demand, asking that the resurrection of fuel queues around the nation should be nipped in the bud immediately, and the forwarding of the reviewed labor administration laws in Nigeria to the National Assembly for passage into law. Right? So, just to refresh our memories a little bit more, the high points has been about the deadline for implementation of the new national minimum wage. Organized labor has given the Nigerian government until May 31 of 2024 to finalize the process of implementing the new national minimum wage for Nigerian workers. The process of fixing a new national minimum wage, well, is still ongoing and has witnessed some robust engagements, and the demand has been for 615,000 naira. They've also said that there should be an automatic, adjustment in wages, whereas should the inflation rise above 7.5%, adjustment in wages should also be reflected in that regard. They've talked about the strengthening of monitoring and compliance mechanisms, where the union is also demanding that every employer with up to 5 workers should pay the minimum wage, and called for the strengthening of the monitoring and compliance mechanisms in order to penalize non-compliant state governments. But then a question also still remains. When you talk about these, you might also want to consider the place of the fact that Nigeria is still a consumer nation. We're not manufacturing nothing. We're not producing nothing. We're very reliant and dependent, not on ourselves, but on the outside world, importing here and there. And it's beginning to seem as though we are just one who do not have the capacity to make any effort at producing or manufacturing. So our lot has been about importing and not producing, and this has got an adverse effect to the Nigerian economy, and that is a fact. But then I'd like for us to also hear from the former labor union leader in the person of Adams Oshomole, as he also gives his own 2 cents to what he feels is the issue. He gives us 2 cents on the matter that concerns the minimum wage.
Some unanimity between employers, including private employers, obviously federal government, and I believe state government, that the current legal minimum wage of 30,000 is a joke. And there is a recognition of the fact that the purchasing power of workers across board, including directors, permanent secretaries, not to talk of those who are on level 1, level 4, but purchasing power has dropped dramatically, radically, and you need to beef it up so that, as they say, let my take-home pay not only take me home, let it put food on the table for me, my wife, and my children. And even for those who no longer have dependent children, as pensioners, they do need to feed. And sometimes the kind of food they need is a bit more complicated, so everybody needs a pay rise. And in the market economy, it is a reality that as prices go up, there are even countries where wages are indexed to rate of inflation, so that you defend. So if you're not going to be better off, you shouldn't be worse off. So I think there's a shared commitment that wages should go up, and go up radically as much as prices have skyrocketed.
All right, that is Adams Shomole right there, the former NLC president or chairman, if you like, giving us 2 cents, saying that, well, my wage should not just be a take-home pay, it should be the one that should serve for my family and as well as other persons who are in need. And one of such that he has mentioned is the need for, those who have special needs in terms of the health, those who are having health issues, and talking about how very, very keen we must be about their concerns, because their concerns indeed should be a strong bother, and not just for them but for each and every one of us. But then we should look at matters that concern Nigeria's economic growth against this backdrop. The need for unity cannot be underemphasized, as this is a subject that should allow for a better cohesion within the Nigerian system and structure, where everybody should see the other person as his brother, as his sister, as his friend, as his family member. And it should not just be about, we are from different tribes, ethnic lines and all of that. No, we should be one, right? So Nigeria's economic growth indeed and development requires a unity and collective effort, as Senate President Godswill Akpabio has emphasized the need for a total relentless fight against poverty and hunger. And I want to believe that all of these, that the NLC's talking about, the organized labor on the one hand, the federal government on the other hand, it's all about the need to exterminate, to remove poverty and hunger. Even if we cannot remove it entirely, we should indeed give it a fight that should ameliorate it, bring it to its lowest barest minimum, and that should be the conversation. And indeed, that's what it is, with Akpabio coming out two days ago, if I'm not mistaken, to have that conversation, while the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has signed an executive order, and this executive order is to unlock 10 billion US dollar in fresh investment. There are concerns that remain about the alignment of these efforts. What are the alignment processes for these efforts? And the place of effective implementation is another thing, and addressing the poverty, hunger, and economic growth. When you put all of these together, right, are we indeed in that process? Would we indeed take the heed to the advice as given to the entire generality of Nigerians, as well as all well-meaning Nigerians, concerning what we must do to get it rightly? Akpabio had stated that, look, there should be some sort of cohesion. In fact, it was an identified issue that he saw, and he made mention of it, and he said, between the executive, between the judiciary, between the arms of government, between the ministries, departments, and agencies, that all of that should be looked into if we must get it rightly. And that, for me, tells me that probably when we look at these conversations, we might come to some conclusion to saying that, could it be that Akpabio is telling us something that we ought to know, that we've not known just yet? Yeah? Whereby he's saying that, look, we should begin to look at the fact that there is no unity even within the structure or the system in itself, and there is a need to ensure that that unity is indeed there and strengthened, right? That might just be the only way that we might get ahead of the situation that we find ourselves today, right? But then there are some economic sides to it, right? I'll just give it to you very quickly, and then very shortly we would open the phone lines, as we would also be joined by our guest in the person of Mr. Adefolari Olamilekan. But the one of the economic sides to it would be the place of the fact that there is a 10 billion US dollar investment in oil and gas sector imputed. The president is imputing it, is investing in it, and there is a potential job opportunity and economic benefits as well. And there's a need for transparency, and accountability in the oil and gas sector, which should also lead to some balancing of the economic growth with social welfare and environmental protection, right? And there is also the place of total and relentless fight against poverty and hunger, a collaboration between the National Assembly and President, unity and collective efforts in tackling socio-economic problems, addressing insecurity, electricity tariffs, and petrol prices, unblocking or unlocking $10 billion in fresh investment in oil and gas sector, as the President has announced and signed as an Executive Order 10, I think. Yes, Executive Order 10 it was. All right. Okay, I think I'm not really getting that correctly, but it was indeed an executive order by the president. And then streamlining contracting processes and timelines, enhancing global competitiveness, stimulating economic growth. Yes, and there are major concerns though for Nigerians. But then we're being joined by our guest in the person of Mr. Adefolari or Olamilekan, right? Mr. Adefolari Olamilekan is a political economist, lead researcher, and policy analyst. Welcome aboard once again, Mr. Adefolari.
Thanks for having me. A very good morning to all our listeners out there.
Yes, as yesterday, Mr. Adefolari, we mentioned, matters of concern, the organized labor and some demands that they made on the president, looking at the matters of concern, the Nigerian workers and all of that. And it seems as though heralding the 25 to 35% salary structure increment, for Nigerians, which of course should start from January 1st of 2024, right there. The president had signed an executive order, and this executive order is in the place of fresh investments into the oil and gas sector. And one of the highlights of it is the fact that he is looking at creating job opportunities, and that it has a potential of creating job opportunities, and it also has economic benefits, and that there are other economic sides with the need for transparency, accountability in the oil and gas sector. If this must be done rightly, and even the place of balance in economic growth with social welfare and environmental protection, not forgetting the fact that the Senate President just prior to this time had given a speech addressing Nigerians, emphasizing the need for a total and relentless fight against poverty and hunger. And the place that really got me was where the Senate President had said that there is no cohesiveness, there is no would I call it a cooperation between these arms of government, and as well as extended to the ministries, departments, and agencies. And then he admonished that there should be cohesion, there should be unity, right? Citing it as a landmark if we must get it correctly. And then if we also look at some major concerns that Nigerians have, the concerns come, as in the place of critical questions. How will the executive order impact the average Nigerian's life? Yeah, what role would the National Assembly play in ensuring that the success of this executive order by Mr. President would come to fruition? How will the government address the root causes of poverty and hunger based on the announcement by Mr. President signing the executive order and all of that? And what are the potential job opportunities and economic benefits of this $10 billion US dollar investment, and what potential environmental impact of this executive order are there? And finally, of course, how will the government balance economic growth with social welfare and environmental protection? When you sum all of these together, what will be your reaction?
I think to start with is to also appreciate, something good is coming in the oil and gas sector, particularly with a $10 billion investment from the government.
Right.
I thought the money will not come entirely from the government alone. I think investors will also be calling, and both locally and international investors through their FDI or FPO will continue to invest in that particular sector in the economy. And if you talk about oil and gas is very critical to Nigerian economy. That is the life wire of the Nigerian economy. That is the sources where we get the chunk, over 92% or 90% of our revenue that we generated
from oil and gas. 92.
Yes, comes.
Wow.
Yes, 92% comes from oil and gas.
Amazing.
It was just recently, I think, with the current administration trying to push that other sources of revenue must come in apart from oil and gas. That means the earning we earn from sale of crude oil, the earning that we earn in sale of gas, other things we must also earn from other aspects of the economy. That's talking about service taxing, service charges, taxes from services, and the rest of them in the other sector of the economy. I think that's what the new government is trying to do. That's why they have set target of over 20 trillion naira for themselves as the tax for this year, and over 10 billion or 10 trillion tax to GDP target for themselves also. So oil and gas is critical. So we must give it to the government that they are looking at oil and gas. And again, when we talk about oil and gas have subsector, micro sector, mini sector, and macro sector. What I mean by subsector, micro sector, mini sector, and rest of it. Say for instance, from the crude oil cracking, you can get more than 4 different products. You can get kerosene, you can get diesel, you can get PMS, you can get ethanol, you can get some other chemical used for plastic. I hope you get it. Now, you can get all those varieties. Now, if you translate those varieties to other sectors that can be used, you can get fertilizer material for agriculture. You can get polythene material. You can get electric material. You can get all materials that can be used for automobile. So the oil and gas sector is a very huge sector that it has sub and mini and micro and
so in other words, you're saying that it can translate into, bettering the life or the living standard of, each and every one of us as Nigerians, or it goes into every sphere.
If we marshal that sector the way it's supposed to be marshaled,
right?
Let's take for instance, if the $10 billion is going to be utilized effectively, it means that we need to have modular refinery, or we need major refinery, because that's where to start it. Then we also need to have a gas exploration and gas refining companies or outfits, because there are 2 sectors in this one. The 2 major one is crude oil as well as gas, and they have to be exploited from the ground, and they have to be transmitted, transported, and taken to where it can be used. Now, what I'm trying to say is that, for instance, I've made the benefit of crude. Now, let's look at the benefit of gas. In the gas sector, we can use it to power electricity. We can use it for cooking. We can use it to power our factory. We can use it to power our automobile. We can use it to power so many things that will help the economy to grow. Those are the great benefits of this sector. That's why the government look at that area. But if we cannot marshal it in a way that it cannot transmit into micro, mini, and major industrial sector for the economy of Nigeria, that means we have failed. I don't know whether you get what I'm trying to say here. So it is not enough to have an executive order of $10 billion. What that $10 billion could translate is that it must translate beyond the shore of just exploiting the crude oil or exploiting the gas. But it must translate to the point that those gas and those crude oil cannot turn into mini, micro, and major products that cannot be used for further production and industrialization of Nigeria. In the electricity sector, in the transportation sector, in the agri sector, in the ICT, in the oil sector cannot tap into the oil and gas sector, because they are now be broken down into mini, minor, mini, macro, major, other area of industrialization of the economy. That is the only way you can benefit from it.
If in this regard, from what you've said, it shows some clarity that this might just be using one sling to capture various birds, or if to better understand it, to be about the fact that this might just be a one-stream answer that gives, a one-stream solution that gives answers to various aspects of the Nigerian economy, as well as bringing effective the value of life in Nigeria. But doesn't it bother you that, as it stands, we're still trying to grapple with issues about our refineries in Nigeria? You mentioned the fact that, look, we should get our modular refineries up and running, but the Kaduna refinery is expected expected to begin operations by end of 2024, and that is what we've been told. And even the Dangote refinery as well, even though it has a capacity of 650,000 barrels per day capacity, the refinery has received 4 shipments of 1 million barrels of crude oil from Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited. That is the NNPCL. And the refinery is expected to commence production of diesel, aviation fuel, liquefied petroleum gas, and premium motor spirits. Once 6 more million barrels are delivered, right? And the refinery will produce 10.4 million tons of gasoline, 4.6 million tons of diesel, and 4 million tons of jet fuel a year, and that it will also produce 0.69 million tons of polypropylene, that is, and then 0.24 million tons of propane, 32,000 tons of sulfur, and 0.5 million tons of carbon black feed a year. So doesn't it bother you that as much as these are very beautiful resources that can be generated from these modular refineries, we still haven't been able to get them up and running?
The reason why we having such challenge, or we are still looking at it from that angle, is because the conception of the current government of this executive order is in place. But the managers of the oil and gas sector only understand one thing, that is exportation of this particular product.
Exportation? How do you mean?
Exploitation.
Exploitation.
Export. That means export it out of the country in a raw form.
Oh.
So that's what they understand. See, the president have a mindset to translate and to transmit that industry into a workable industry whereby it will not generate jobs. Just like you already pointed out, through the modular refinery,
yes,
to the gas refining sector and the rest of them. But the issue is that the players, the people who are players and stakeholders in the oil and gas sector in Nigeria, they don't understand that what they are interested in is the fast and quick money. And the only way they can get fast and quick money is to export crude oil in the raw form that it is, and the gas in the raw form that it is, instead of them to break it down and translate it and transmit it into an industrial sector in the economy. They don't understand it that way. And you know why they are doing it that way? In the Nigerian conception of how oil and gas is managed, they borrow money in advance and they sell the crude oil in advance. That's what happens. So what the government wants to do, what the president wants to do, is to break that jinx and ensure that it is not as business as usual. Let us have this thing domiciled in the country and let it be workable for the people. I doubt if the players or the stakeholders in that sector are ready to follow the president with this kind of thinking that he has right now. Their thinking is to export this product in a raw form.
Let's put a peg to your thoughts. Go pay some bills. We'll be right back in a short bit. Don't go away.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja. Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Christ Embassy Abuja Zone 1 specially invites you to a day of blessings with Pastor Dikbo Fisher. Date is Sunday, 5th of May 2024. Time is 8 a.m. Venue, Love World Faith Arena, prestigious auditorium, number 1, Chris Oyakilome Crescent off Christ Embassy Boulevard, Arab Road, Kuba, Abuja. It is a time for worship, a word, and supernatural blessings of God. This is a prophetic visitation, and as the prophet visits, he will come with the fullness of the blessings of the gospel of Jesus Christ for everyone present. Remember, one word from God will change your life forever. For more information, call 081-0792-5162 or 080-6077-8404. Christ Embassy, giving your life a meaning. Powered by Christ Embassy, Abuja Zone
1. Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
My people, the thing where they happen for my area,
Do you think I will now find out that you have contract to bring fresh girls?
I brought you from the gutters. Who gave you all the connects? MDG who? Without me. you would have been nobody. But
Join Media Coalition and Awareness to Halt Human Trafficking, MICAT, on I Wish I Knew radio drama every Saturday at 10 a.m. Let us join hands and kick human trafficking out of our communities. I Wish I Knew radio drama, brought to you by MICAT in partnership with the National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NATIP, and funded by the Embassy of Denmark in Nigeria.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Please listen to this announcement. A-Level School of Basic and Preliminary Studies announces admission into IGMB program for Maraba, Kubwa, and Suleja Resource Centers. IGMB is an acronym for Interim Joint Matriculation Board, moderated by Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, approved by the Federal Government of Nigeria, certified by JAM for 200 level direct entry admission into any university without JAM or post-UTME to study medicine and surgery, nursing science, law, engineering, or any other course of your choice. Hostel is available for all students. Cost of admission form is 15,000 naira from Sky Limit Studies Mungal Plaza behind Zinaria Secondary School opposite Umar Farouk Global Enterprises, Maraba. Academic and non-academic staff can apply for immediate employment. For details, call the coordinator on 070 25 20 4933 070 25 20 4933 or 081 21 09 7007 081 21 09 7007. Announcer Management.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Hi there. Do you want to know how to get the correct approval or documents for your land and property? Do you need the right information on how you can prevent your building from being demolished? Then tune in to Town Planning Program on Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja every Thursday by 4:30 p.m.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Welcome back and following conversations right here. This is Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. We give you an audio-visual radio experience that you can count on anytime, any day. We say this on strong authority because you gave us the bragging right. Giving you the audio-visual sensation. You can check with us on our YouTube, Twitter, as well as Facebook, pages, and you'd see and find that what we say is the truth. Subscribe on YouTube, give us a tweet, follow on Twitter, as well as give us a following and a liking on Facebook at Eagles FM Abuja. You're not just restricted to these social media platforms alone. We can talk about Instagram, we can as well talk about TikTok. We are there and we are strong, right? So get on there and be sure to be a part of what's going on. I mean, there is still the talk going on about Nigeria's economic growth and the need for unity, as we still have our guest who has joined us via phone call in the person of Mr. Adefolari Olamilekan, and we're still talking about it. But you want to join the conversation right there, you can join the conversation, be a part of this conversation. Let me know what you think and how you feel that this 10 billion US dollars that the president has put and injected into the oil and gas. And according to our guest, who's saying that this is going to be like a multifaceted answer to all of the multifarious problems or challenges that we face in Nigeria. How you feel about it and what you feel this would mean for us as a country. Number is 0907-353-0044. The other number is 0908-766-8888, and the WhatsApp portal number is 0909-705-4450. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning to you, please.
It's Moses.
Moses, welcome aboard.
Yes. I want to appreciate your guest. He has added more value to this money's contribution.
Yeah.
The question is, what is behind our refineries that is not working? Do you know that we have, that's the first question. What is happening that our refineries are not functioning? Then number two, do government care to know the unemployment rate in this country? Do they have the statistics of unemployment in our country? To know how many people that are working and people that are not working? Because you talk about this minimum wage welfare. I believe that the minimum wage for workers, how many unemployment did you have? What are the statistics plans did you have for those that are not employed? How can you put the system in place where the welfare of human beings, the masses, the less privileged, which you rule, which they voted you there, what kind of welfare did you have for them?
Right.
You get a point. I hope you are getting this question. Then another thing again is that UD.
Yeah.
People who voted there, many of them, as I'm talking to you, fact or no fact, is reality. Do they have the mind to put the economics in place? You are talking about foreign investors. What have you done, or what have you put in place to bring the foreign investors? The system of powers are not working. Some of the industries, some of the government systems which are put in place, most of them are not working. The insecurity. How do you expect foreigners to come and invest in a nation, big nation that is called a nation of Africa? I believe there is a challenge for our government to sit down, to look at some of the systems. Things are not working out. Thank you. God bless you.
All right. Thank you, Moses, for that one. You've asked some salient questions right there. And even though our guest is an economist, I'm hoping that he would be able to attempt an answer, for some of these questions. But your concerns are very valid, and it really borders on the Nigerian system and structure, and as well as bringing some sort of relief to Nigerians. And there is high hopes that the president's move in this regard would indeed, bring about the change. But, in the words of the Senate president, who has admonished that there should be unity, there should be cooperation, there should be cohesion, we hope that the Senate president would not only make that statement, but would also allow to see into it that this statement of his would rub off to every nook and cranny when it comes to governance in Nigeria. But Mr. Adefolari, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I think the question that Moses asked is quite critical and fundamental.
Yes.
I think it's a sensitive question that most of us normally ask anytime we are pondering around Nigerian politics. What is the statistic of unemployment in Nigeria? Although, let me quickly help out so that we can understand this unemployment situation. There is an issue about why is our refinery not working. Let me attempt the one of the unemployment. Now, there are three categorizations of unemployment in Nigeria. We have underemployed individuals, then we have seasonal employed individuals, then we have unemployed individuals. Now, underemployed people are people who working in an organization below their certificate, below their qualification, and below their credentials. If, for instance, a PhD holder working in a bank as a cashier, or a master degree working in a bank as a cashier, as he stands there, he is below his capacity in terms of knowledge.
Okay.
That's why he's engaged. Now, seasonal unemployment happens when we have individuals like farmers who only go to farm during farming season. Then at the time of harvest, at the time that they were waiting for the plant to grow, they may be unemployed. So most of them found themselves in the city centers working in factory and everything. Then unemployed people are the people who don't have anything at all. Maybe a fresh graduate that just left school and is believing God, maybe he's going to get a job soon and he doesn't have anything to do. So those are the categorization of unemployed. But based on the NBS statistics that we have about 43% of unemployed Nigerians as we speak right now. 43% of the population are on 43 years as we speak right now. Although there is projection that it rises to 47% before the end of the year. But based on NBS statistics, we have 43% of unemployed Nigeria. Then we also have about 23% of underemployed people in Nigeria. That means those people who are employed, but they are not employed on the basis of their qualification, but they are employed on the basis of what what their employment they are working for or what they are doing require. Say for instance, a BSc holder working a work of an AND holder. You get it? Those are the.
All right, but that's 26%, yeah, for that one.
Yeah, 26% of that we have it. Now, on the aspect of why refineries are not working, it is because of inefficiency of the governance of the government since time immemorial. The 4 refineries in Nigeria, the last one was built in 1983. Thereafter, by the time we have the military government of IBB in place in 1986 to 1992 or 1992, thereabout, they failed to do maintenance for all the 4 refineries. And because of lack of maintenance, the oil refineries started collapsing. But we must not forget that when the democratic government came in 1999, they had the opportunity to revive this refinery. But because of the politics and the economic principles that we embrace, which is more or less the neoliberal economic principle that was suggested to us by World Bank and IMF, to now jettisoning government participating in businesses. While rather we are now allow private individuals to begin to take over that sector, and before you know it, the only thing that they could suggest to the government was that go into importation of PMS or go into importation of diesel and the rest of them. And that's why we kill our refineries. So it is because of inefficiency of government policy in terms of economy, and because of the economic principle that we are practicing, the idea, the advices that we listen to from World Bank and IMF that focus on neoliberal economic principle that state government should just be a regulator alone and not to participate in business as we expected.
You might want to tell us that principle again. I didn't quite catch the principle.
The principles of government non-engaging in business.
Is it the neo something?
Neoliberal policy.
Neoliberal. Okay, neoliberal.
Neoliberal.
Okay,
go ahead. Neoliberal. Yeah. So it's an offshoot of market forces, an offshoot of free market economy. For the IMF and World Bank to build it in a way that it can well be understood and like in third world countries and sub-Saharan African countries like Nigeria, whereby to practice a free market economy in a way that government will make a regulator without participating in the economy as expected. That's why I see that the 64 government-owned enterprise in Nigeria currently are performing below expectation. They are not bringing anything to the table. Rather, we have allowed that principles to bring about privatization and commercialization, and that's what the principles that led to this selling off of all the electricity companies that government own and bringing in what they call the private investors that have not yet brought anything to the economy in terms of the power sector, but rather they are collecting intervention funds from government to the CBN over the years. Government have to spend over 35 trillion naira in the energy sector, and there's no result for that. The same thing has happened in the refinery, where we have spent billions of naira without getting result from.
Yeah, but now let me ask you a question that would be on the lips of many Nigerians, and that question would be with regards to some of the giant strides that Mr. President is putting in place, which should be applauded, but has not even gotten the right applause for. We still have our dollar naira difference still seemingly dwindling and or fluctuating, if I should use that right word, fluctuating at some point to get to 1,004, 1,002, 1,001 and like that. And there's some concern of whether or not this move by the president, $10 billion injected into the oil and gas sector, which he believes would give employment, which he believes would also help the economy to grow and add some value to the lives of Nigerians. Would that allow for us to begin to see the naira gaining in value to the dollar?
It will be in immediate terms, because that $10 billion have already structured how, in my own understanding, how it works. Now, that $10 billion is supposed to be modular refineries. That $10 billion is supposed to bring up outlets of filling stations and gas stations across the country. That $10 billion is supposed to create jobs in the area of industry, whether what they call mono industries or nano industries or micro industries or macro. any form of industry that will be related to the oil and gas, that $10 billion is supposed to bring it up. That is where it can have effect. But as earlier said, the players and stakeholders in that sector will only collect that money and swing and loot it. It has happened before. They will collect that money and loot it. Now, in the immediate times, we may not have the effect. If it is practically well done, if it is empirically done by the government that we now have those industries in place, then it means that we are not going to be importing PMS to the country. We are not going to be importing diesel into the country. We are not going to be importing gas. Do you know we import gas into the country? Cooking gas, we import it. Meanwhile, we produce 100% gas. But because of the penchant for government to raise revenue, we sell 70% of that gas outside the country and they only retrieve 30%. Because of that 30% is not enough for our consumption, then they now allow people to be importing. So if we can have gas exploration sites built across the country or in the Niger Delta area where we have these gas deposits, then this can have an effect on the economy. But it will not be in the immediate time.
But you and you and I know that those who have been in the business of importation of gas and all of that would want to fight this tooth and nail to seeing that it doesn't come to fruition. And what do you now think that the president can do, or the country can do to ensuring that these kinds of persons do not find their voice, or hold the country ransom?
The government must use the stick. All these years, government have only used carrot. So one of the most annoying thing about neoliberal policies is that it allows government to be weak in terms of discipline, in terms of sanction, and in terms of putting things right as expected. It made government to be so weak. It created a weak governance structure within the government system. Let a country practice neoliberal policies because they will be so careful not to punish private businesses. And the private businesses are greedy individuals who are looking for ultimate 100% profit. Say for instance in the gas sector that I just mentioned.
Yes.
We have gases that are being bought from NNLG into every part of the country. But ask me, that gas is supposed to be cheap. We're not supposed to be buying that gas at dollar rate, but we are buying it at dollar rate in the point that they are not selling 1 cubic of gas to you or 1 kg of gas to you at 1,200 naira. Meanwhile, it's supposed to be less than that because it is a domicile gas that was bought from NNLG. But because we have individuals who also import that gas, who are also selling to Nigerians, everybody that will not claim that their gas is imported, it is not from NNLG. You can see how stupid and how wicked the individuals are.
Let's put your peg to your thoughts. See if we can entertain one call or two, and then maybe get to the WhatsApp portal. I will advise that we send messages to the WhatsApp portal so that we can read the voice note. Now may not have that time at this point in time, but numbers are still open there: 0907-353-0044 or 0908-766-8888. WhatsApp portal number where you should send your message to, so that we could just read it straight up, would be 0909-705-4450. Well, Mr. Defolari, I want to say a big thank you to you at this point in time. I wouldn't want to hold you back as you have other engagements that you want to, attend to. Thank you. We are hoping that all of these would indeed be put in place. Now that we are talking about the solution, and we've shown the federal government the way forward, and we're hoping the president would put all of his resources together and fix the situation at this time. Thank you. Right? Well then, let's see how much of your calls now we can take in this very short period as we go engaging together. I mean, a lot has been said. What would be your take home from the entire conversation, so to speak? Well, I see this message right now via the WhatsApp portal, and I should be taking this message right about now. I just want to have a little bit of, okay, I'll do that in a short bit. But I see your voice notes though, and we should go straight into your voice notes. All right, the message is here, and this one right here says, good morning, UD. Good morning. This is James from Suleja. James, welcome aboard. It says, any investment in the oil sector that isn't fixing the existing refineries to be up and running, or even encouraging new ones to spring up, is an absolute waste. The NNPCL are solely responsible for most of our economic woes because there hasn't been any transparency, credibility, or accountability from them in their operations. No transparency in its earnings, its subsidy regime in figures and facts as it relates to production and consumption of crude and petroleum products, respectively. So long as there's no transparency and accountability, any investment in the oil sector cannot transmit to any meaningful impact on the economy. The government talks about the need to diversify the economy. Why aren't we seeing these same policies and orders in the mining sector? The same people who are in government look the other way while their cronies and allies personalize the solid mineral sector to enrich themselves. All right. Thank you there, James. Good morning, Daniel. I'm listening from Nassau. Okay. Thank you, Tekenbi Hundo, right, for that one, for giving us your listening ear. Then I should take your voice notes now very, very quickly. No, time is not on my side, but I'm doing my best.
Look up from Suleja. I need to do this for me because Nigeria. I'm listening to the explanation. I know Nigeria. I wish people get good luck. That's the number. But Nigeria is not the way.
All right, sorry, that would be on sport. I beg your pardon. Sorry about that. Okay, well then, that it would be all for that at this point in time. Thank you so much. Maybe we could entertain one call there. What 0907-353-0044 is that number. The other number is 0908-766-8888. What would be your take-home message from the entire conversation? I mean, our guest has elaborated on the fact that this might just be an answer to the multifarious problems that we face, the challenges that we faced, and he has said that the federal government should ensure and give attention more to the refineries, putting the refineries in order. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning once again.
Good morning to you, Honorable.
Yeah, Honorable. I actually have to appreciate Mr. President this morning.
Yeah.
Look at injecting money again in the system.
Mm-hmm.
That is not working. And most of the appointees are being appointed by him. The cabal is there.
Honorable, you might want to take 30 seconds now. Yeah. Oh, come on, Honorable is out. Well, I see the phone lines buzzing now, but we cannot go any further. But I want to believe that it has been a very, very educative, segment of the Eagles Morning Rise. I mean, you must have gotten, some very, very important message in that regard. The liberalization, policy where Nigeria has adopted from the IMF and the World Bank should stop, and then we should begin to look at ourselves and create our policies that would not bring us down, but policies that would enhance our living standard as well as push us to where we ought to be. Tomorrow is yet another day, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Until tomorrow, stand by. 10 o'clock, top of the hour, Martha will be here with the Midday Extra Show. My name is Uduak Daniel.